The rain began before dawn. I remember the sound of it hitting the wooden roof as if it were trying to wake me from the trance I was in, a mix of pain, fear, and hope. The room was bathed in half-light. The candle on the dresser flickered with the wind coming through the half-closed window, and in the corner, a small suitcase waited since the night before, ready for the moment when everything would finally happen. My name is Camila, and that cold morning, I was about to become a mother. Or at least that's what I hoped, because to me, being the mother meant more than giving birth. It meant starting over a life that had almost fallen apart. Rafael was still asleep on the couch, his face half hidden under his arm. There were dark circles, exhaustion, and a silent kind of regret there, mixed with love. For a moment, I just watched. It's funny how time changes people, or maybe it simply reveals who they've always been. I fell in love with that man 9 years ago, on a day as ordinary as this one, when he offered me a cup of coffee at the town market and made me laugh in a way no one else ever did. He was the kind of person who filled every space, who spoke looking you straight in the eye, who had a natural confidence, sometimes too much of it. But love over time demands more than smiles and promises, and ours had been tested in every possible way. I closed my eyes for a moment, feeling another contraction rise like a slow, inevitable wave. The clock read 5:22. Every minute felt like an eternity, not just because of the pain, but because of everything that had brought us here. 2 years earlier, Rafael had lost his job at the lumber mill. It hit him hard. Small town, big pride, fear of failure, and I, who had always been the calm foundation, found myself trying to hold up a castle that was slowly crumbling. He started doing odd jobs, driving long distances, sometimes coming home only on weekends, and little by little, something between us faded. Maybe it was the lightness, or maybe the faith. But that morning, about to bring a life into the world, everything seemed to blur together. The physical pain and the memory of love, the fear of the future and the desperate will to believe again. The sound of rain mixed with the distant ringing of the chapel bells, marking 6 o'clock. Rafael woke up with a start. "Camila, it's time," I said with a faint smile. "But there's still time for coffee." He laughed, nervous, and went to the kitchen. The smell of fresh coffee filled the house. I looked around, that small home we had built with so much effort. The walls carried stains of dampness and memories. A crooked frame in the living room, a rug we never had the money to replace. And still, everything there was ours. While he got things ready, I remembered the day I found out I was pregnant. It was on an autumn morning in the same cafe where we first met. I was trembling so much I almost dropped the test. He looked at me, confused, then laughed, then cried, and he hugged me so tightly I almost forgot to breathe. In that moment, I thought nothing could ever shake us. But time is wise and merciless. The following months were a storm. Bills piled up, plans fell apart, and Rafael's pride became a wall between us. He didn't want help. He refused advice. And I, tired of trying, began to fall silent. It's strange how silence can hurt too. The hospital was about 20 minutes away. The road was dirt, and with the rain, it had turned into a challenge. Rafael drove tense, hands gripping the steering wheel. I breathed deeply between contractions. "It's gonna be all right, love," he said, his voice hoarse. I wanted to believe him, but there was something in the air, that kind of silence that carries everything left unsaid. "Rafa," I whispered, "if something happens to me, promise you'll—" "Don't say that, Camila." He cut me off. "We've already been through so much. This is our time to start over." And for the first time in a long while, I saw truth in his eyes. Not his usual confidence. Something purer. Vulnerability. We arrived at the hospital around 8. The nurse, an older woman with a firm smile, led me to the room. Rafael stayed outside for a few minutes, signing papers, and I, lying on the bed, stared at the white ceiling as flashes of our story came back to me. I remembered the first time we argued. It was about money. He wanted to invest in a small warehouse to start his own business. I, more cautious, thought it was risky. He yelled, I cried, and the door slammed so hard the wind blew out every candle in the room. That night, I realized love has shadows too. But it was only after he lost the warehouse that I understood the weight of pride. Rafael shut down, spent nights away, came home quiet, avoided my eyes, until one evening, I saw him break. On the porch, at sunset, he cried like a child, and I, without saying a word, sat beside him and held his hand. That's when I learned true love doesn't ask for perfection. It only asks for presence. Hours passed. The pain grew stronger. Rafael came into the room, his eyes full of emotion and fear. He said, "I'm here, my love," taking my hand. "I know," I whispered through tears. I always knew. Outside, the wind howled and the rain kept falling. It was as if the world itself was giving birth to something. A new beginning, maybe. As I fought through the pain, memories came and went like waves. The first kiss, the first house, the whispered promises in the dark, and also the mistakes, so many. But deep down, I knew the love that had survived all of that couldn't end here. The last thing I remember before everything went dark was his voice. "Camila, stay with me. Please stay with me." And after that, silence. A deep, heavy silence. The kind that feels like it could last forever. When I opened my eyes, the world seemed different. At first, everything was white. A distant beeping from a heart monitor broke the silence, as if marking the rhythm of a new chance. It took me a few seconds to understand where I was. Memories came in fragments. The car on the road, the hospital, Raphael's worried face. Then darkness. A nurse noticed that I was awake. "Welcome back, Camila," she said with a gentle smile. "You were very strong." I tried to speak, but my voice failed. The baby?" She smiled. "She's fine. And your husband's outside. He's been waiting for you for hours." I closed my eyes again and felt a warm tear slide down my face. Not from pain, but from relief. I was alive. Our daughter was alive. Moments later, the door opened slowly. Rafael came in with hesitant steps, eyes red, face marked by sleepless nights. When he saw me, he froze in the middle of the room, as if the ground had disappeared beneath him. "Camila," he whispered, voice trembling. "I thought that—" I smiled, weak but whole. "I'm here, Rafa." He came closer, knelt beside the bed, and held my hand so tightly it hurt, but it was a good kind of pain, human, alive. He asked, "Do you forgive me?" And there was something in his eyes I had never seen before. Humility. I forgive you, I answered softly, but not for you, for us, for her. At that moment, the nurse came in holding a small pink bundle in her arms. Time stopped. When she placed our daughter in my arms, the entire world narrowed down to that single instant. Soft skin, new scent, half-open eyes searching for light. "She's beautiful," Rafael whispered. "She's what's left of everything we've lived through, and she's what will make us begin again." He cried, and I cried with him. It wasn't a cry of sadness. It was the cry of people who finally understand that true love doesn't need to be perfect. It just needs to endure. In the following days, the hospital became a quiet refuge. Rafael spent hours holding the baby, softly singing little songs he made up himself. Sometimes I'd watch him from afar, and it was impossible not to think about everything we had gone through to get there. The pride, the unemployment, the fights, the fear, and above all, the hope. When we were discharged, the sun shone in a way that felt almost symbolic. The rain was gone, and the air smelled of wet earth and new beginnings. We drove down the same dirt road, but this time the path felt different. Maybe because we were different. That same afternoon, he took me to the small warehouse that had once been the reason for our biggest argument. It was empty, but clean. "I want to start over from here. No rush, no pride, just with what we have." I looked at him and felt something I hadn't felt in a long time. Peace. "Then let's do it. Because what matters isn't what we lost, Rafa. It's what we can still build." Time passed. Months turned into seasons. Our daughter, whom we named Hope, grew surrounded by love. The kind of love that's born from scars, not promises. Rafael opened a small workshop for rustic furniture. I went back to teaching at the town school. Life was simple, but it had a new glow, the glow of gratitude. Sometimes when the sun set behind the fields and golden light filled the porch, I'd hold my cup of tea and watch Rafael playing with Hope in the yard. The sound of their laughter was the same sound that 2 years earlier I thought I would never hear again. And in that moment, I understood everything. That true love doesn't end when everything falls apart. It simply waits. It waits for us to grow. It waits for pride to fade. It waits for time to teach what the heart doesn't yet know. Today, when I hear the rain falling, it no longer scares me. On the contrary, it soothes me. Because I know that after the rain, light always comes. And every time Hope runs around the house with that smile, a perfect mix of mine and his, I remember the morning we almost gave up. And how love, patient and silent, waited for us.